So hello gamers, this is not clickbait. They actually removed the completely no recoil gun, the AUG H-bar. Today we're going to be trying it with a bunch of different setups, so make sure to like and subscribe if you're new, and comment what you guys think about this gun. And yeah, do subscribe if you're new because it really helps support the channel. AUG H-bar got basically slower kick speed, so basically it comes down a little bit slower, and I think a little bit more horizontal recoil as well. And as you can see here from default, it's got a lot of recoil by default now, which is quite a massive difference compared to the old version of the gun. The question is this too much recoil? I think honestly, we'd have to see, because this is without attachments and it's still pretty accurate. Next up, let's run a little bit of a low kill requirement setup, which would be red laser, suppressor, angled grip, or ARS suppressor would also kind of count for this. It's still pretty inaccurate compared to the old one. Quite a bit of vertical recoil, but it doesn't seem like entirely inaccurate for sure. Like, it's still very high velocity and it shouldn't be too bad. So far, this is not like even close to the best recoil setup. And keep in mind, this is only the recoil that got changed. It should have just as much pen, velocity, damage, range, everything like that, but it's just the recoil. And it's kind of weird because yes, it does have, despite having a lower rate of fire and being a heavier gun, it does seem to have quite a bit more recoil than your average AUG variant, which I don't know, might be something to keep in mind, because it should be the more stable of the AUG variants, but it is pretty stable, I'm not gonna lie. By default, that recoil is not great, but I'm really not having a huge problem with this recoil. But we're gonna get onto a very high level, which would be like muzzle brake, stubby, and tri-laser. And then we're gonna get onto 223 Remington, closed bolt, and stuff like that in just a second. But this setup, it's still pretty accurate, I'm not gonna lie. This is without 223 Remington, and it still doesn't seem to have a problem with recoil. As you can see, as you get to a higher tier setup, this gun gets a lot better, especially with the muzzle brake buff. And as you could probably tell from that earlier, it wasn't really a huge issue regarding the horizontal recoil. It was more of the vertical recoil problem. And stubby grip will actually just remove most of that little tiny bit of horizontal and a little bit of vertical. Muzzle brake will do wonders for your vertical recoil now. So I'm not gonna lie, this gun seems very good still. You just will have to actually farm up a few kills, but if you've already used this gun before, you have like 300 to 400 kills on the gun, just run like a green laser, muzzle brake, and stubby grip. Muzzle brake and stubby is basically the main stuff you gotta run, and then you shouldn't have a problem. But the next thing I wanted to try was a 223 Remington setup with all the very high downside but high recoil reduction attachments, which won't always have a massive effect. And I'm not gonna lie, at this point the recoil, it already feels pretty good. I'm not really having an issue with it at all now. It feels very similar to the old version. So to get technically the best recoil setup on this gun, you would have to run 223 Remington or 22, but like that's not really the same gun, you know? Of course, that's gonna have no recoil. Closed bolt conversion, the Harris CQR grip, and of course the oil filter. Now with this setup, you should be getting down to nearly no recoil. Yeah. Yep, you get no recoil. This setup has worse velocity, worse fire rate, worse range, worse handling. This is not really worth it, but as you can see, you can make it have absolutely zero recoil, which is pretty cool. Not really that effective or that great in my opinion. We could also try out 22. Yep. It seems like it has even less recoil. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know. This gun has no recoil, so that's why I wasn't really gonna cover this one in the video, because yeah, it has no recoil. I actually want to try out a muzzle booster setup. Yeah, so muzzle booster used to be pretty good, and now not really worth it. And last up, just for fun, let's run a extreme recoil setup. Yep. Before, that wouldn't be that bad, and now it's pretty bad. Ballistics tracker is going to make it pull to the right, as you can see, but overall, definitely a pretty good change to the gun. I'm not gonna lie, if you're running like a full setup on the gun, you already have kills on it, don't worry. But if you're a new player to the gun, that's when you're gonna have some trouble, because I feel like unattached, like with no attachments at all, this is actually a significantly worse gun. But the second you start putting on those attachments and get like a good setup, this will essentially be just as good. So new AUG H-bar users, you might have to struggle through your first few kills with the gun, which is kind of a thing you already have to do with most of the guns in this game, because attachments will really affect your gun in a positive way in this game. They don't really have a ton of downsides a lot of the time, you know? So overall, good change, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how they could make attachments less effective without like changing them across the board, but in this case, I feel like attachments make the AUG H-bar just a significantly better gun and really improve it beyond belief. Like, I had no idea that a gun could have this much of a noticeable effect. And I guess because it has already really low recoil, a lot of vertical camera recoil, which is what muzzle brake does a really good job at reducing, I can understand why it did so well in reducing the recoil of this gun. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy or found this helpful, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Let's go for 1,000 likes, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Have a nice day.